Hi, everyone. This is Hal Krosman with Screenwriting U, and today we are going to be analyzing The Diplomat. Now, this just came out for the second season, and they've already greenlit the third season. So there is something about this show that is causing people to stay tuned, to enjoy it, to tell other people about it. And I think what we're going to talk about today will identify that pretty clearly for you. The other thing I want you to know is the season 2 just came out, like 2 days ago. So I'm not going to be doing any spoilers on season 2. I just feel like if you understand what happened in season 1, you will be able to, it'll make it natural for you to watch the whole thing. You'll understand. You'll see what we're talking about. So we're going to be talking mainly about season 1, but I want to point out some key points, some things that actually are what make this show successful. They've got a semi-big star. Kerry Russell came from The Americans and went straight into this, and she does an amazing job in this. So let's do this. By the way, it was created by Deborah Kahn. She also did 88 episodes of The West Wing and 184 episodes of Grey's Anatomy. So she knows what she's doing also. But today, what we're going to do is I'll walk you through first the 5-star model for binge-worthy TV. We're doing that because that's going to be the basis of the analysis we're going to do. We'll then talk about how do you build intrigue into drama. A lot of times people think intrigue is mainly for thrillers and that kind of thing, but this is a drama, and they have built a lot of intrigue into it so that we are constantly wondering about these characters. We're often being surprised. There are things hidden in this show that are under the surface, all of those kinds of things. We'll also talk about how to create relationships that are filled with subtext. Now, the beautiful thing here, when you have a character relationship and it's like, okay, it's an interesting relationship. These two have conflict between them and they have attraction between them and things like that. That's pretty cool. Add a deeper layer of subtext, add some things that the audience becomes engaged in because it's hidden beneath the surface, and that changes everything. You can take the exact same story that you're telling right now, add intrigue and subtext into the relationships, intrigue into the drama, subtext into the relationships, and you've just doubled or tripled the quality and probably multiplied your chance of getting it done by 5. That's why I wanted to talk about this today. And then we'll talk about the upcoming binge-worthy TV program, and we've added something to it that took us about 6 months of work. That will make a huge difference for you. It takes this program and turns it into an unbelievable adventure. So here we go. Let's do this. Our characters. Here's Ambassador Kate Weiler. She is somebody who has been working in the ambassador's office for quite some time with her husband, Hal Weiler. Up until this moment, Hal Weiler has been the ambassador, and she has been his primary support person. Now, coming into this show, first thing that happens is we find out they want her to be the ambassador, and now that makes him the support person. So their relationship, the power dynamics have just changed in a huge way. And they're having to adjust to that from moment one. And then we have Stuart over here. He is her second in command. And he's a guy who has always gone by the book. He's in the British American consul. So he's been used to everything being very formal and very precise. There are rules, and you follow those rules. These two, however, have been in some pretty bad places. And I'm talking about, they've been in the midst of wars and stuff like that. And they know that the things that they're doing have an impact on the world. And so they are thinking in a very different way than he is. So the relationship first between these two has been changed. And now he's having to deal with not only the change in the relationship, but these two who come in who are, battle ready. They, who have been through things he's never seen or thought of. And his rules, they're just not going to hold up, I don't think. So, all right, let's jump into this. 5-star model. And the reason we're talking about this is because this is what we're analyzing this show through today. So first, if you're trying to write something that you're hoping is going to be picked up, you need a big picture hook. You need something that is going to engage an audience from the beginning. You need something that when you tell an audience about it, they instantly just go, oh my God, I've got to see that. So first question is, what's your big picture hook? And if you don't have one yet, don't worry. As we're talking about this today, maybe you'll see some strategies that you can use. And if not, then I'll walk you through how to get them. Second thing is you need intriguing characters. And this means you've got intrigue under the surface with these characters. And it's the main thing we're going to be talking about today. How do you build intrigue and subtext into your lead characters and their relationships? Third, then, is empathy distress. Are you putting these characters in some types of distressful situations that can cause the audience to feel empathy? Now, you've probably heard people say your characters have to be likable. If you saw the TV series Secession, if you saw the TV series Secession, that's no longer true. We're in a different world. We in that show we had 5 main characters, of which none of them were likable. Some of the supporting characters were likable, but not the main characters. So likability used to be the number one thing. Now it's dropped way, way down. It's like number 5. Empathy is what you want. You want people feeling for these characters on a deep internal level where they worry about them during the week, right? It's like if this, I just finished watching this show and I'm worried about these characters. I'm worried about where they're going. We're connected on a deep level. It makes a difference as to whether people continue watching every single episode or they pause and go watch something else. So it also makes a difference when you're trying to get the next season greenlit. And this one, it came out somewhere in the pandemic because they'd already been shooting it up till that point. And then there's this big pause where nobody was shooting anything and all of that kind of thing. And they finally greenlit it here just a little bit ago. They got 6 episodes done. By the time they had those episodes done, it's already greenlit for season 3. And it's because of everything we're talking about here. Number 4 is you need layers and open loops. And again, a lot of people think layers are reserved for thrillers. Absolutely not true. You have layers in every single genre. So you want to make sure that you have layers, deeper layers that are going to surprise us, that are going to reveal something new that we had not thought of up till then, but has been going on under the surface the whole time. And the thing that layers do is it makes it easier for you to have that big mid-season cliffhanger. It makes it easier for you to have a final cliffhanger. It takes you into the next season and has you going, oh my God, like the way this last one just ended was an oh my God moment. Cheryl and I were both sitting there. This is at 2:30 last night. We just decided to stay and watch every single episode because they did all of this, by the way. But we were sitting there, we got to the very end, and it was like she looked at me and she goes, I did not see that coming. A new lair, you know, new intrigue, major change that just happened. And then finally, your job as a writer is to invite obsession. And this means you're constantly setting your audience up to become truly obsessed with the show. Now, there's a huge difference between TV series that you get to the end of an episode and you think, oh, you know, yeah, I think I'll just do something else right now. But I'll watch it. I'll come back and watch it later, right? Versus the ones where an audience is obsessed. We got to the end of that cliffhanger, the one we're talking about last night, season 2, at the very end, and we're already obsessed about seeing the next season. You know, we're looking up, where is it in the shooting process? What's going on with it? When is it slated to come out? All of that kind of thing because of this. And again, this is something that you can build into pretty much any genre. Okay. Now, building intrigue into drama. So intrigue means you've got something hidden. Usually it's something underhanded that the audience must search for and discover. Think about the shows that you have been obsessed with trying to figure out what's really going on under the surface, right? If that's going on, if you had become obsessed with it, that means they did a great job on their intrigue. And this is also part of your job, is to set it up so that people can't stop thinking about it. They can't stop trying to understand what's going on under the surface. You don't want to confuse them. It's not about being vague. It's about building something under the surface that's hidden that they've got to search for. Now, here's some examples for this show. In the very beginning, I think it was episode 1 or 2, there's a warship that was bombed. The leaders blame the Iranians. But if it's not them, then who is it? Could it be the prime minister who benefits politically from it? So this is intrigue that's built in. They are wondering constantly, and we are wondering constantly. You know, and again, this was built in by the writers. We have to ask ourselves, why has she been made ambassador, by the way? Because it was a surprise to them. You know, he was supposed to be ambassador. He was the ambassador at the last one that they were at. They're just moving over here, and suddenly we find out that she's now the ambassador. Why? Why did that happen? There's been no reason given in the beginning. We'll find out later on. And then there's a conspiracy going on. 6 people know that she has been vetted to be the vice president, right? She doesn't know it, though. So who are those 6 people? Because that's all we're told. We're told that there are only 6 people that know that she's been vetted for vice president, that she is being vetted for vice president. Who are they, and why isn't she in the loop? Why aren't they telling her? What is really going on here? Something is happening behind the scenes. And if you haven't watched this, as soon as you do, you will see why this is such a big deal. The other intrigue, the Secretary of State wants to fire her on day 1. So we've got 2 different sides going on there politically. We've got some group, 6 different people who are trying to move her into the vice presidency. And we've got the Secretary of State who is trying to set her up to be fired from the very first moment she arrives. Why is he doing that? You know, then we've got her husband who's in on the scheme of her becoming vice president, but he's not considering her. He's not talking with her about it. He hasn't told her yet. He's in on it. He wants it to happen, but for his own personal reasons. What's going on there? Right? And finally, a cliffhanger. Someone kidnaps her husband. We want to know why, right? Nobody, he's been kidnapped. This is the ambassador's, support person. It's the husband to the actual ambassador. He's been kidnapped and nobody knows why at the end of this particular season. So these are just some of the things they've done to build intrigue in. And these are the things you'll see once you watch this. These are the things that keep people engaged, keep them wondering, keep them feeling for this couple who is a pretty unlikely couple to be where they are. So now then, how do you create relationships that are filled with subtext? Because it's like just everybody has subtext, everybody. But there are lots and lots of relationships where the people have known each other for a long time. There's nothing really truly under the surface. And in this situation, what they did was they created this really truly amazing relationship between these two. So let's start with this. Relationship subtext. There's a deeper meaning that the audience perceives that isn't being spoken about. And in this case, it's a deep part of the actual relationship. If a relationship is based on subtext, as in both of these people have some major part of who they are and what they're doing that they are hiding, that creates a lot of interest. If that subtext also impacts the plot and the story and the other characters, that creates even more intrigue and interest. So these two are estranged, but they must work together. Now let me take that a step further so it's really clear. They decided on a divorce before the show started. So they've coming to this job, they already decided they were going to get divorced. Again, basically, they thought he's the ambassador and she's had enough of this. She's had enough of who he is. She's had enough of the problems that are going on. It's time. They're going to get this divorce. All they're going to do is show up, basically make it easy for him to get into the job. And then they're going to make that decision or make that announcement. So they're coming in with this under the surface. This is the subtext that nobody else knows. It's going to affect everyone, and they aren't telling people about it. They have this functional relationship that teeters between romance and hate. So they kind of go back and forth, but they spend most of their time in hate over here. And then they find out this major power shift has just occurred. He was the ambassador and she was his support. Now he must support her as the new ambassador. Now just pause for a moment and think about what this kind of thing does. Imagine we've got a husband who was in control. Everything went his way. He knows what he's doing. He's the one who basically runs everything. She's making it happen for him. She's been his support for this whole time. And now suddenly they're switching roles and she's the one in power and he doesn't know how to deal with it. Also, on top of that, he's used to taking charge and just stepping in and doing things. And she's used to standing in the background, and both of them have to change who they are in this situation. So he, at the same time, he learns it very early that she's up for the VP spot, but he is hiding it from her. He's never told her. Now let's just pause for a second. There's more to this, but let's pause. Just look at this. And just imagine you're writing some characters and you build in this level of subtext, right? They're getting a divorce, but they're not telling anyone. They have this relationship that teeters on romance and hate, and they can't tell anyone that either. They've got a major power shift going on that first completely rocks both of their worlds, Both of them are out of their element. This isn't the way things normally happen. They've got all kinds of issues. She, at the same time, has to do the job of ambassador, and he has to stand down, and neither of them are comfortable with that. And then he's hiding from her that she's being vetted for the VP spot, the vice president spot of the US. And she has no idea that every decision she makes is being considered in the White House. And a couple of the people around her know, but they can't tell her. Now, if you just that, there's way more to this, by the way, but just that is enough to create all kinds of drama, all kinds of intrigue, all kinds of subtext, and to make this show incredibly interesting. Let me just give you a couple more things here. He wants the relationship to continue. She doesn't. So that's another part of it. Even though he's having problems and they're having to adjust to this new job, he's also trying to figure out some way to get this relationship back on track, and she doesn't want that. And then he is constantly scheming, not about the relationship. This is the way he is. He schemes. He's a political player. He knows how to get things done, and he knows how to get things done without anybody knowing it. And this causes her a lot of problems, but it's one of the things she admires most about him. Now, so if you're looking at that, just notice how much effort the writers put in to making sure that all of this stuff existed beneath the surface, right? And the reason why they did was because that's what keeps this show in the air. If we were just watching this drama where these characters are having issues between them and they're doing their job without all the subtext, without all the intrigue, you take all that stuff out and this doesn't get made. You put that in, and people consider you to be an incredible writer who saw exactly the things that make sense, that need to be there, that will hook an audience, that will keep us deeply engaged, have us constantly wondering and worrying, right? So what this really comes down to is, making sure that you've built this in, that people are worried, right? And this is what happens, by the way. There's a lot of writers who worry they're not smart enough or not creative enough to do this kind of thing. I'll tell you, that's not the real problem. It's just a matter of knowing certain skills and knowing exactly how they work, and exactly how to design them. If you want to write a great TV show, you need great decisions. This is the first thing. And most people have a tendency to just an idea comes to them and they just jump in and start writing. What I found when I was talking with showrunners was showrunners get their team together and they spend a couple of weeks making the most important decisions first before they ever write anything. I asked one showrunner, I said, how do you break a show? Which break a show means you create a show. And he said, you know what? I get my people together. He says, we get some good food in there, and we start talking. And I said, okay, what are you talking about? Are you talking about the weather? And he goes, sometimes, but no, not really. He says, what we're talking about is all the decisions of this show. And he started naming off all the main decisions that they make. And he said, we spend a week or two until we've figured out the big picture stuff. Now, what they're figuring out is what will cause this show to stay on the air. What will keep an audience engaged from start to finish, right? What will make these characters somebody that we can't stop thinking about? They're trying to figure out this model. It comes down to a couple of things. You need great decisions. You need high-level skills. And this is the other part. When you're writing a TV series, at least in today's world, you can't do it with average skills. You can write early drafts with average skills, but you need high level skills, especially when it comes to this stuff about what's under the surface. Because what's on the surface up here, what's at the top, that stuff is really actually pretty easy compared to what's beneath the surface. What's beneath the surface is what makes you a great writer. And then once you have these two, then you need to funnel your creativity through number one and number two. Now, let me go back to the showrunner. What he said was, he said they get together, they spend a couple of weeks making these decisions. He said everybody in the room are high-level writers. They made it onto their team because they know what they're doing, because they have the kind of skills. And then he said, then we start brainstorming. And what we're brainstorming, once we have these big picture decisions, what we're starting to brainstorm now is what goes into the episodes and what goes into the characters. And he says at that point, they're doing this. They're funneling their creativity through their high-level skills to make those great decisions happen. Now, let me present it another way. You make the right decisions, you're halfway to success. Let's just be clear on this one thing. The reason why most writers don't get in the door is because of the first decisions they made, the very first ones, the first 10 decisions that they either made or they skipped. Those are the ones that keep you out of the door. It's not the words on the page. Those decisions either give them a show they can sell or it doesn't. So if you make the right decisions, you are halfway to success. This is critically important. And it's like early on, I thought, wow, you know what? I can write. I'm really good at this. And I can keep people engaged, but I wasn't making the right decisions early on. And almost every project that I presented to producers, they said no to, and rightly so, because these are the decisions that sell it to networks, to actors, to directors, to showrunners, to funding sources, and ultimately to audiences and to streamers. So you need these. These are the most important things that you're doing. Uh, and back to this show, one of the decisions they made was to build intrigue into the concept and the show. If that was missing, if that intrigue was missing, I don't think this one happens. And then they designed subtext into the characters and the plots. So all of that went together to create something that was truly amazing. Now, let me show you something. I'll give you a quick demonstration that I think you're going to absolutely love. Hang on just a moment here. So again, this just comes back to this. Great decisions, high-level skills, funnel your creativity through number one and number two. Now, this show, this class, we just added something new to it. And this class is about the decisions that make you a pro. This is the very beginning of it. From the very beginning, you're going to be creating something that's outside the box, something that's unique, something that we haven't seen. And I'll give you something that'll help you get there. The WGA contract with the studios said that the studios can't use AI, but writers can. It's specifically said in there that writers can use AI. Now, if you're not in the WGA, then you have 100% permission. There is nobody that can stop you from that. And by the way, you're not violating anything by using AI to brainstorm. We don't use AI to write. That's important. We've added high-level AI prompts to this, but in our program, we don't use AI to write. You're the writer. What we do is we use AI to brainstorm things like titles and characters and structure, but you're the decision maker. So let me just walk you through. I'm going to show you an experience of this. Give me just a second here. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to walk you through any minute. Uh, how we can brainstorm a project with AI really truly in about 15 minutes. This is ChatGPT. This is the primary AI that is out there. This was the main one that started things. Uh, I like them because you can go up here to the settings and you can actually choose under data controls to make sure that it doesn't train off of your project. So when it says it, and by the way, I'll show you how to do this if you join us in the class. But you can make sure that it does not use your project and put it out there to the world. So I think that's pretty important. Now, let me walk you through what I'm about to do here. We're going to create a project right now. And as we're doing that, what this basically comes down to is I'm just brainstorming. I'm using AI to brainstorm, and I'm doing it to create something that really might have some kind of chance. I am not saying whatever AI puts here, I absolutely agree with, but we're just starting in the brainstorm process, right? So here's what I have. I have a 1 hour sci-fi thriller. And the series concept, or at least the idea that I came up with, was a moon landing goes bad when the ground gives way, causing the ship and the astronauts to fall into an alien base that is hidden under the surface, right? So I've got a concept that has a little bit of intrigue in it. I've asked it to give us some basic information. What's the surface level? What's the surprising twist? In this case, it says the base is a prison. Now, if I agree with that, super. If I look at it and I go, no, I don't want it to be that, then I just simply go down here and just make the change. I ask it to change it to something different. It's got some intriguing conflict, which is one of the things we need. It has a deeper layer. And then it gives me a version of the world. So now let's take it a step further. And again, on this, I'm asking it to do certain things that are just part of the brainstorm process. This whole thing right here took about 30 seconds, but it's something that if you were brainstorming for real, might take you hours, maybe even days. It might take you weeks to figure out some of these things. Who knows? Now, what I asked it to do was to give us some worlds, because in a sci-fi, this is a sci-fi, the world is really important. And I think in a drama, the world's really important also. So here it's giving me a world it's calling the shifting maze. It's saying that beneath the surface, we've got some kind of maze. And I had it give me a series of rules. What are the 5 rules this world is based on? In real life, if I was doing this, I would now stop and read every bit of that. I would look for, what do I agree with? What do I not? Here's another world. It could be the bio chamber. Here's another possible world. It could be an artifact vault. Another one, it could be what they're calling the null zone. I don't know what that is yet. A mysterious zone where technology, sound, and light are all diminished. Okay, could be, that's interesting. That would take the power away from the astronauts. And it could be a world called the Truth Engine. uh, so where something tests each astronaut, tell if they're telling the truth. I'm going to now take it and go another step. Let's do this. Just a second. We'll use the null zone. And in reality, here's what I would be doing right now. I'd be looking at every one of these. I'd pick one that I think may be best. If I don't like any of them, I'd ask it to run 5 more. But I would look through all the different rules and see sometimes a rule here does really well up in this world, you know? So I look, you could mix and match, but now we're going to take it to the second level. And to do that, let's just a second. Now that I've picked a world here. Hang on, I'm sorry, just a moment. There we go. I have picked a world, and so this was the world I picked, the null zone. I just picked that one for fun. I don't know if that's what I would be doing or not. But when you go through it, you will make the best choices you can. So now what we're doing is we're looking at the characters. So I ask it to give me some characters, and I ask it to give me some very specific things. With this character, this is Captain Lyle Harper. I just met this person. Here's their role in the show. Here is their expertise, right? It gives us that information. Their traits, it tells us their positive traits and one negative trait. What makes them empathetic? What kind of secrets do they have? What kind of wound do they have? What's their motivation, their want and need? Because all of this is going to drive things, right? So including all the way down here, we have an internal dilemma that was built in. Now, again, in reality, what you do is you look through this and you say, what do I like? What do I not? Anything that you don't, you delete. And then that gives you a chance to bring your creativity to the table. Let's say out of this, let's say I liked 50% of it, but I deleted the other 50. Now I've got something to go on. I'm starting. The 50% that I like is triggering ideas for me, and I'm creating in the midst of this. So this is character one. Here's character two. Here's character three. She's the engineer. Here's character four. This is the antagonist, right? Every one of these characters have, like, again, let's say I like 50% of it. I'm halfway to creating amazing characters in minutes. Now, let's take it another step. And I'll show you these. I think you'll really like it. So with what I've got here again is we've got characters. We figured out the concept and the basic story. We chose the null zone as our world. So we've got a cool world that's interesting and unique. Every single part here is based on giving you something that's intriguing, something that hasn't been seen yet. And now what we're doing is having it create an outline for a pilot. Now, again, it's not writing your pilot. This is just an outline. So here's the outline for the teaser. Here's the opening scene, the twist, the big hook of the teaser. Then we've got a first act outline, right, that ends with a turning point. We've got a second act outline that ends with a turning point, a third act outline that ends with a turning point, fourth, and finally the fifth act that ends with a cliffhanger. So again, this is just a way to brainstorm. You go through this and look at it. The first thing that you ask is this in the general area of what I want to write? And you could come back and say, here, I want you to change. Let's give a completely different cliffhanger, a completely different fifth act. Now, how would you change all the other acts to fit that, right? Again, this is just part of the brainstorm process. I'm working on a project right now. I did this. I went through and marked out 70% of what was there because I thought it could be way stronger. So I'm starting with 30%, but I've got a structure for a pilot and took that 30% and brainstormed all the other answers that I needed. What it did was it had me think outside the box. And when I was outside the box, I saw all kinds of creative things that I hadn't seen before. So, and again, if you don't like it, you come back, you give it other kinds of instructions, you ask it to make 4 different changes, and it'll give you something completely different. Now, I want to show you one more thing. And this is something that's just truly special. Let's say we get to this point and you have something that you like. Now you're going to go down here and we're going to ask it to do one more thing. So hang on just a second. And again, remember, you've gone through, you've vetted the stuff that you liked, you've deleted the stuff you didn't, you've made all the changes and everything else. Now what we're going to do is to ask it to give us feedback. And we've got a very specific feedback prompt that took us about 20 tries to create. So first it talks about the concept, what worked and what areas of improvement are there, and how would you put those improvements into action? So what we do with this, because I just went through it, it was amazing. I made a list. I looked at it and I said, on some of the ideas I didn't like, but there were some that I just went, oh my God, I've got to do that. Absolutely. It's just giving me feedback here, right? So on the concept, it gave me some ideas for improvement. I made 2 changes to it. Then I went down to the intriguing world. And it's telling, now that it has the whole project together, how does this world work? It says the null zone as a subworld is compelling, but it also then asked to add in some environment characters for the null zone, because I had none. That's a good idea. To integrate the base's interaction with human psychology in visual and experiential ways. Okay, whatever that means, right? But it's like you go through them and you look to see which ones do you like. The others don't matter. So if, let's say there's 2 things in this area that I think are important, then I build that in. And then it gives a way to actually build it all in so that you can look to see, is that what you want to do? On the characters, tells what works well, what needs improvement. I would really look at this and I would consider it. Distinguish each character's fatal flaw. I think that's actually interesting. That wasn't built in up above. So I would be really thinking about that. And then at the end, it gives what it thinks should be the improvements in action. You're the decision maker. You make your decision. You try it out. Then it takes us to the structure. What works well? What areas could be improved? I'd make a list of this. Strengthen the pilot's hook. As soon as it says that, I'm at least considering that. And then it gives ideas for improvement on every single act. Now, I want you to see what just happened. We spent about 10 minutes talking about this. But here's the reality. The reality is you could get all of these answers in about 4 minutes. In about 4 minutes, you could create a version of a project. I don't recommend people do that. That's not what we're thinking. We don't want AI doing the thinking for you. We want AI being a brainstorm partner. So what we do is you brainstorm the very first part way up here, right? And you say, is that what I want? Do I like this surface level? Do I like the surprising twist? Do I like the intriguing conflict? Anything you like, you keep. Anything you don't like, you just simply delete it. You say, no, the base is not going to be a prison. So what might it be? Now, I'm just going to brainstorm myself. I can brainstorm 20 other things it could be. And you fill in what came from you. So before you even go to the next step, which is now creating the world, you've already started by making this yours. Whatever world you choose, then you go through and you look to see, do you agree with all of that? Is there anything you'd like to change, right? So the process of creating an entire project, if you just engage and really think about it, probably will take you about 30 minutes to an hour. And in 30 minutes to an hour, you will get to what would normally take you 3 weeks to a month. You will have figured out key decisions, the most important things that need to be there in the beginning to make a decision. Now, here's what we're recommending on the class, by the way. So this is what this all comes down to. Everything you're looking at here is about you being able to step outside the box of where you normally think and create a project that has 5 times the chance. Now, once you've done it with one, you're going to have the prompts. What I'm going to ask you to do is to come back a couple of days later and do it with another. And then a couple of days later with a third. And at least get 5 different projects so that you've already gone through this process, you know what you're doing, you have 5 projects that you like all of them, and now you're going to pick the best to bring it into our class. Now, having said that, let's take this a step further so you can see this. What this is about is you being able to create the best project you've ever created in your lifetime. And it starts with the opening decisions. So here's what this program is about. It's binge-worthy TV plus AI. I just showed you, I think, 5 AI prompts. We have 30 more in this program that are, every single one of them will help you think outside the box, will help you brainstorm and create. You'll essentially have a partner that's working with you on that. And then when it comes time to write, you know what you're going to write, and you bring all your writing skills to it. AI does not write. We do not allow that. So let me walk you through the class so you can see what this will be like. Module 1 is about designing your binge-worthy show. And that means you're going to make the decisions that can sell that show. Now, we talked about, I think, maybe 3 of those decisions. Oh, we talked about 2 of those decisions today. 2 out of the 50. We have 50 different decisions that can sell your show. So we're making all those decisions early, just like the showrunners and their teams are. The decisions sell the show, the writing confirms the deal. Those are the 50 most important decisions. Those are what will make your show absolutely great. And those are also what will make your show sell. We have had so many writers who have gone through this, who have made deals with producers. We're talking people who have never made a deal with a producer before, but because they were thinking this way, because they were creating things that made sense in the market and would be highly attractive, it caused producers to sit up and listen to them for the first time. I had one lady, she got a script to a producer. The producer didn't look at it. He loved her pitch in the beginning, and then when she called him back, he says, you've never done this before. He says, I just don't think it's worth taking the risk. And she said, would you be willing to read just the teaser on the pilot? And he goes, I don't know. And she goes, I promise you, if you just read the teaser, I will leave you alone. So he says, okay, I'll do it right now. And he hung up the phone. And about 45 minutes later, she got a call from him, and he said, oh my God, you're an incredible writer. And she goes, well, thank you. And he says, okay, send me the TV Bible, and I'll consider it. So that's what happened, by the way. They ended up making a deal. He loved what she did early on. He loved the pilot, and then he really loved the TV Bible because of all these decisions show up in that TV Bible. And that's where we're going next. Those decisions are what make your TV Bible amazing. Everybody tries to, wordsmith it to death, tries to put in cool pictures and everything else. When you're talking to a producer who's trying to make business decisions, it's all about the decisions that came from Module 1. With those decisions, now you create this pitch Bible, and it's based on what producers and funding sources need. So we're thinking from the very beginning, what does it take to get you a deal? That's why this class is different than almost all the other TV classes out there. There's very, very specific criteria that must be in a TV Bible. And our job is also not only to make sure that it has the right criteria for the funding sources, but also that your TV Bible is a page turner. And what this means is if they read anything, they can't stop reading, right? It's like we design our TV Bible. It's not this throwaway thing. We design it as something that sells you as a writer and sells them on this project. Every single page is designed to keep them engaged and interested. So we write it just as if you're writing, your pilot. You're doing everything you can to keep the audience engaged. Here, we are talking to producers and funding sources, and we know what they need because I interviewed them. So then in module 3, you're going to create your brilliantly complex pilot outline. The value of this, there's so many different things, but the first value is if you ever hope to get in a writer's room, you need to master outlining. Because in writers' rooms, this is what the showrunners have told me, they are outlining about 4 times as much as they're writing. It is a big part of their creative process. So, and the reason that TV series are better than features at the present moment is because those TV series have been outlined by pros. So, uh, in the outline, it's not just a surface outline, you're going to build in depth, intrigue, and key needs for that pilot, right? So essentially, this outline is going to make this pilot so amazing. If you have a great outline, it'll equal a great episode. And I've had so many people who've told me, I don't really like outlining. We do this. When we get to the pilot, they're like, oh my God, that outline was so good. There's no way I could have messed up this pilot. And they end up with an amazing pilot because they had an amazing outline. So this is worth doing. It actually in itself can change your life. Then we go to writing the mesmerizing TV pilot. Your pilot's going to be intriguing from page 1. Now, up until this point at different places, we are using AI. I have a whole bunch of different AI prompts that can help you. But once we get to this point and you're actually writing it, it's you writing. And your job is to make it intriguing from page 1. This is critically important that it's you writing because first, we're not trying to take jobs from writers. We are not trying to replace writers. We want you to be a success. Second, you are coming in with this incredible outline already that is designed to launch the entire show. And I'm telling you, you will be so amazed at the quality of your writing just because of the outline that we just did. And then your job is to create the binge-worthy experience from the beginning. And that binge-worthy experience, you may already know it. It's that thing where what you're watching is so good that you can't stop. It's like us last night. We had 4 episodes left in that season, and we started at about 10 o'clock at night, and we were just going to watch 2 of them. We ended up staying up and watching all 4 of them. And it's because it was written as a binge-worthy show. It was so engaging. It was deeply, deeply engaging. And that's what you want. And then you're going to deliver on 5 different levels. This is different than what most writers do. If you're looking at contests, almost all the contests that I've ever read for, writers are writing on 2 levels. They have a surface level, and then they have what's beneath the surface. What's the main thing that's happening underneath? We're writing on 5 different levels. This is built into your outline. So everything you write here is going to be so much stronger, and it's going to take you as a writer to a whole new level. Finally, then it's about how to market your stuff to producers and streaming services. This is incredibly important. Once you know that you can actually get things to producers, you write at a different level. You think at a different level. And once you start interacting with producers, you're going to see, if you've done all the things we're talking about, you'll get respect from them. They will treat you differently. I have 50 stories of writers, like the one I just told you a minute ago, of writers who have barely gotten in the door. And the moment that the producer reads any of their stuff, they're calling them and they're talking to them differently. And they're going, wow, you're amazing. We had a lady took this class. She said she tried to get an agent or a manager for almost 2 years, and nobody would even hardly talk with her. She took this class. The script that she wrote, the pilot, ended up winning the final draft big break contest. Two managers read it for that contest. Both of them called her up and said they wanted to represent her immediately. And she had her choice of those two. So she got to pick the manager that she wanted. And by the way, she loves her manager, but it was because she went through this whole process, right? And it changed who she was. So in module 5, what we're going to do is create the 4 types of pitches that you need. Most people are going in with just one pitch. And most people don't even know that there are times when you need a different pitch. Sometimes one pitch will sell you and the other will get you kicked out of the room. And sometimes they don't have time. I've actually gone into meetings before where I thought I had 10 minutes with the producer. And so I'd prepared for that. And walking in the door, they said, sorry, he's got another meeting. You've got 3 minutes. And it's like, okay, I need to use a different pitch if I've only got 3 minutes. And if they told me I only had 30 seconds, I would use a completely different pitch. So you will create these. We'll walk you through how to do it. This is something also you can use AI on, and we'll give you high-level prompts for that. But by the time you're done, you'll have 4 great pitches that you can use for your same project that you can use at any time and in any situation. Your job is to make your pitches so compelling, and this is what we work on. How do you have it be so that if the person doesn't want to talk with you and you just say one sentence, suddenly they're asking you to come into their office and sit down and let's work together? How do you make that happen? That's what our purpose is. And it's about how you get your shows indoors. Now, ultimately, we're going to give you a model for building a network of producers and managers. So let's see. I think there's one more thing I want to tell you. Yes, there is. This is what people said. We've had one group go through this one where we added AI. We had one person, this was what she said. She said it was the best writing experience of her life. Another person's called it an absolute adventure. We asked them how much did they improve in that program. Most people said 100% or more. Some people said 200 to 300%. There's a whole bunch of reasons why, but basically it comes down to we've got a high-level model and we added some AI in there that would help you make big and important choices. So here's what's amazing about the program. By the way, it starts November 19th, and there's not a J on the end. I just put that in right before we got here. Didn't see the J. It starts on November 19th. That gives you about, 17 days right now to brainstorm projects. So again, you're going to create 5 projects in between now and then choose the best one to write in Binge-Worthy TV. This has you coming in with an advantage. Most people just come in with the thing that popped into their mind, and you can do that if you want. But if you create 5 projects and you go through our process, and then at the end, choose whichever one you think you want to do that you think has a chance of getting you in the industry. We would love to have you have that success. That's what this whole program is about. So we start with 5 projects, you choose the best, and that means that you're coming in with the best of 5 instead of just what popped into your mind. And by the way, the one that popped into your mind, run it through this process also, the AI process, and see if you can make it even stronger. It may be the perfect one for you. It just depends. You decide. Then you're going to run it through, you're going to take it through the entire Binge-Worthy program. This is the most powerful TV writing model that I know. When we came up with this, we had people from 2 different writers' rooms in there, 2 writers from 2 different writers' rooms. We had an executive who takes pitches at one of the big studios. We had every person on the team was amazing, and we created a model that was at that time only the top 2% of shows were using that model. It was the new model that was being ushered in. Now it's at about 30% of the new shows coming in. So this is the model that everybody is using. You know, I I'm not saying that they chose to use it because of us. I'm saying we looked at what was working incredibly well, what was in the top 1 and 2%, and then we designed based on that. And since then, it's up to 30%. So you need that model. Uh, Again, we've added 30 high-level AI sessions. So every one of these will help you brainstorm things that are outside the box, that go further, and that fit your show. And then, of course, you're the decision maker. And this is what will happen for you. You will create the best TV project you've ever written. Uh, the last time that we did this, I asked how many people just wrote something that was better than anything you've ever written in your life. Every person in the room raised their hand. This will change your life when it comes to being a writer. Now, let me give you a special. The normal price on it's $12.99. Again, it starts November 19th. So you've got like 2 weeks, 3 weeks to be brainstorming these projects. Right now, you can get in for basically half price. So the price on that is, let's see, it's $6.49. So for $6.49, you can get in, and that gives you this program at half price. And you get all the AI stuff that nobody ever else has taken this program has gotten besides the first group that went through it. So that's amazing. This will change your life. If you'd like to do that, just write this link down, bit.ly/BWTV-order. If you need a payment plan, you can get in, I think it's $130 a month for 6 months. And on that one, you just write down bit.ly/BWTV-payment plan. There's no capitals, no spaces. It just again, write it down, bit.ly/, whichever one you want here, BWTV-order or BWTV-payment plan. Put that in your browser where you normally put a web address, click return, sign up, and come join us for this amazing adventure. For those who sign up right now, tomorrow morning, I will send you all the AI prompts for you to start creating projects. So join us today, and tomorrow morning, you begin this amazing adventure where you are constantly learning, where you are constantly growing as a writer, where you are creating things that go beyond anything you've ever created before. And where by the time we're done with this, you are 5 times the writer you are right now. Really, truly, this will make so much of a difference for you. I want to say one last thing. If you've ever had any issue with being stuck or shut down or writer's block or any of that kind of thing, what these AI prompts do is they completely clear that up. Once you get into this, we had somebody who told me up front, she said, I have writer's block on every project I do. Once we got into that, every time we got to the AI, she sent me a note and said, wow, I thought I was going to shut down on that one. And it brainstormed a whole bunch of stuff. It triggered some ideas. I just created something that was more amazing than anything I've ever written. And she said it was like 5 minutes later, normally I would have been shut down for the next week or 2 weeks, and 5 minutes later, I'm in this creative flow that just won't stop. Completely changed her life as a writer. So come join us for this adventure. I promise you, it'll be one of the best decisions you've ever made in your life having to do with your writing. So if you want to do that, again, just pick which way you want to pay. Write that link down, put it in your browser, click return, and you're in. So with that, I want to say I am looking forward to hearing about your success during this program. I'm looking forward to having you come out of it and being able to do things you never were able to do before, and having you become significantly more creative and successful as a writer. So hope you'll join us. Again, this is Hal Krosman with Screenwriting U. I'm wishing you guys the absolute best. And for those of you who join us for this, it will happen for you. Good talking with you all. Bye-bye, everyone.